Executives and officials are in Shanghai for China's 6th International Import Expo. This year includes a number of events, including Invest in China Year Summit. The goal, promote foreign investment.
中国高度重视外资工作。
The Chinese government attaches great importance to the utilization of foreign investment. The Ministry of Commerce will continue to relax foreign investment requirements, promote institutional openness, improve services, optimize the business environment, and enhance the utilization of foreign investment, thus increasing our attractiveness to foreign investors.
外国对华投资。
China has been the largest FDI recipient among developing nations since 1992 and received a staggering $200 billion in 2022, even amidst global uncertainties. This inflow isn't just about quantity, it's about quality. UNCTAD's World Investment Report points towards China's green transition with vast potential in electric vehicles, batteries, and renewable energy. And additionally, we see how China's rapid shift to a service-based economy, sectors like IT, digital technology, finance, emerge as powerful engines of growth.
The U.S. has also opened a food and agriculture pavilion at the expo. It's a first. American businesses have been attending the expo before, but this is the first time there's been an official U.S. delegation. Wu Bin explains.
It's said that this is the strongest ever delegation to the China International Import Expo, now in its 6th edition. Led by its acting Undersecretary for Trade and Agricultural Affairs, the U.S. Department of Agriculture opened its first official pavilion at the expo, together with the American Chamber in Shanghai. The U.S. ambassador to China addressed the ceremony, reaffirming the U.S.'s extraordinarily important economic and trade relationship with China.
But obviously, we want to see that continue. And our administration, led by our president, President Biden, our Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, have said consistently, we do not seek to decouple the economic relationship between us.
The U.S. has more businesses and exhibitors than any other country at the 6th China International Import Expo, and agriculture is seen as a highlight in bilateral relations.
Mr. Undersecretary, what do you think the agriculture could play as the role of the bilateral relations?
On many levels. It can help commerce between the two countries. It helps create economic benefits for both countries. It increases food security to share products across the area. And it's also important for cultural engagement and strengthening of national ties. So many opportunities in it.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is leading 17 exhibitors, including the U.S. Meat Export Federation and the Poultry and Egg Export Council. Many U.S. businesses participating in the expo since the first time are positive about the prospects for agricultural trade and bilateral relations with China.
And I think the outlook is great. I mean, we had, this past week I was in Beijing. I had meetings with MARA, with the Ministry of Agriculture. I had the pleasure of meeting with MOFCOM, talking with their team. And you know, the reception that we got was very warm, very cordial, very collaborative.
So I think it's very good to have these dialogues at a very senior level. And certainly with the upcoming APEC meeting in San Francisco, we are hopeful that the two heads of state will meet with each other. That's very, very important. Now we're doing a small part in contributing to the bilateral relationship.
CGTN, Shanghai.
For more on the CIIE, we're joined by Qu Qiang. He's the Assistant Director of the International Monetary Institute at Renmin University in Beijing. Good to see you again. Let me start with the revised IMF forecast. I think to some folks, you know, there's obviously been concerns about growth in China, but this upgrade should alleviate perhaps some of it.
Oh, yes. Phil, I would like to say in the current data shows, I think from the October and early November, we see already the export and import has been improved, especially in the import. A lot of people pay attention to Chinese export data, but I always pay attention to the import because the import data shows that Chinese consumptions, which is already a very important part for the domestic economic improvement, has showed warming up. So we've been looking at 3% going up from our import to from the Middle East, and also from 44% actually increased from the Latin America, as well as from ASEAN nations. So I think this actually showed one sign that Chinese economy is getting warmer. That's the reason why I think IMF is trying to revise up our data and in a forecast. And secondly, with the U.S. dollars change in their indicators, especially I think when the Federal Reserve try to loosen up a little bit or hold their horses when they try to have the further interest rate hike, I think Chinese economy will have some brief, spaces in the future. So I think these two overlapping factors actually shows that Chinese economy, no matter in a domestic environment or in a foreign environment, will have some, betterment.
The decline in exports, I don't want to ignore the, I think it's arguably negative news when you think about factories and jobs and that issue. What does it say about the economy specifically, not just China, but globally?
Well, I think right now we have two factors actually been choking the global economy, not only China, but the rest of the world. Number one, I think it's a geopolitical conflict. We've been hitting certain business cycle in the whole world. Every time when we hit such a kind of a business cycle, we usually have a geopolitical conflict happening everywhere. It's more like a reflection of the economic fundamentals. This is like basic rules. But secondly, I think it's U.S. dollar is actually very, very important factors choking the vitality of the whole economy. Every time when U.S. dollar gets very, very strong, when the interest rate in the Federal Reserve gets so high, basically, if you are a rational people, you probably would like to put your U.S. dollar, switch your currency into U.S. dollar and put them into the bank and, wait for the risk-free returns, which is like 5%, very, very high. So when everybody tries to do so, nobody tries to buy things, nobody wants to invest in the future. So the vitality has been drained. But once this trend has been reversed, for example, inflation has been controlled and or the Federal Reserve think maybe we should not keep this policy for too long or too high so that we can, maintain our vitality in our in the U.S. economy or as in the rest of the world. So the change will happen and then the economic fundamentals will improve. So whenever either of this factor has been improved, right, we will see the improvement happening in our economy.
Let's talk about the big expo. One of the big highlights is trying to, I guess from China's perspective, to revise the excitement of FDI or foreign direct investment into China. Obviously, that's been a challenge over the last couple of years. Tell me about the strategic move that Beijing is trying to make. And just from our last segment you saw, it seemed like a lot of the representatives were fairly open-minded to it.
Well, I think, Phil, several points has been showed currently when we're trying to welcome the FDIs. First of all, if you take a look at the Shanghai and Shenzhen's data, you'll find out that we have already seen more than 34% of the increase this year, year on year of the statistics. We see more of the foreign investment to come into the two most important cities. And I think the reason why China become, again, very attractive for the foreign investment is, number one, China are showing its what we call a public service or public product value to the rest of the world. The reason why is that, previously China used to be attractive as a producer. We have good capacity, we have good engineers, good productive factors, which is good, but the demand in China itself is not sufficient. But right now, China is showing with the growing middle income.
What's the concern from, for example, U.S. CEOs when it comes to China? I mean, look, in the past, it's been maybe concerns about rule of law or concerns about stability, things of that nature. But I think nowadays it's more about, can we make money or can they make money with their business in China? What do you think they're worried about?
Oh, yes. I think rule of law is basically, this has always been the topic. But recently, China has made a very clear black and white list showing people where is the threshold and what kind of industry you can get in or not. For example, in the printing houses industry, usually it says the pure foreign investment cannot come in unless you form a joint stock companies in China, partners with the local partners. But right now, we removed all the bans in these sectors, which means in every manufacturing sector, the foreign investment can go free. It's green light, no brainer. You can just go. And also for other things, for like IPR and infringement, a lot of people are saying, okay, when I put something in China, probably my intellectual property rights will be infringed. And this year we have clearly stipulated that this will be prevented. And other things, as I just mentioned, we have a growing middle income class. A lot of foreign friends say, okay, in China we're here only for the capacity, but right now you've been seeing with increased import, people are buying. People are, consumption has been growing, and they can make money out of this. Just take a look at the import exhibition. Lots of, Australia, U.S., they come in here to make a sale, not to make a buy. So this is an improvement.
Real quick before we let you go, over the last couple of months, I think all of us have certainly noticed perhaps a de-escalation of tensions. You've got this expo that's happening. Obviously, very nice words are being said. We have the Apex meeting that's coming up where it's expected that President Xi and Biden may perhaps either meet directly or on the sidelines. Either way, it is a positive development. And I'm told that President Xi is meeting with potentially a lot of the U.S. business people as well. So all these things in aggregate, I mean, this is a big difference from where we were just 6 months ago. I have to think that you perhaps feel optimistic, but what are you expecting the definition of success to be following these next few meetings?
Well, I think improvement is a must. Well, what I can see is that people will know the value of China. China is very stable, especially against the current background of the whole world, and also China can help you to make money in this big market. This is a big public market. And certainly China, well, it's very important value in here. China is bias-free, regardless of your ideology, regardless of your value or political systems. If you just respect the trading rules and the globalization, you can just come here to trade with the partners, and you don't need to fear about to pick sides and choose sides. So I think this can actually attract a lot of people who really want to improve their businesses and improve their living standards of the people.